concept one thing or we're calling concept another thing, or who the play caller is, or who his quarterback coach is. Just consistency from Jalen with how he approaches a daily process, and and I always admire that about him.
Nick, Nolan Smith was a little speeding. Did you address that with him, and what's your overall message to the team?
Yeah, obviously, any conversation I have with any player will always stay private. With that being said, we address everything. We talk about everything. We talk when it's appropriate to talk about it with the individual. We talk about it with the individual. When it's appropriate to discuss it as a team, I'll choose to discuss it as a team. So yeah, it's important. Obviously, what's so important is that we learn from our mistakes, and we not only on the football field but in the community as well, and we try to get better from those things. And everything that we go through is a teachable moment, on the field, off the field, and that's a big part of getting better. And so, like I said, everything we address, it's just a matter of how we do that with our players. But that's why it's so important that you're in constant communication with your players, have good relationships with your players. Not that every conversation is going to be, hey, lovey-dovey, right? There's hard conversations, there's tough conversations, there's conversations where you laugh, there's conversations where you cry, there's conversations where you go through a process of that. So, yeah.
Sean mentioned sort of a blend of the offense, and you mentioned that with some of the things Jalen has done well. When you went through this with Kellen, do you lean on that when you went through it before?
Sure. Again, it's about the best situation that we can put the players of the Philadelphia Eagles in. And what is our scheme going to be as a Philadelphia Eagles? And I think that changes year in, year out, whether it's the same coordinator or you promote from within or if you go from the outside. And so we're always doing what we think we need to do to help our players put them in the best positions to succeed, to do what they do well. And Sean's done an awesome job thus far, and just really like the command that he has in front of the room, and the conviction that he has in front of the room, and the knowledge that he has in front of the room. And so, yeah, we'll see how that looks. We got a long time before we play. We got a lot of practices to go through before we play a game. This is about figuring out what we do well, what we can do well, and sharpening our tools. That you can run any scheme you want, but if you can't block, if you can't catch, if you can't protect the football, it doesn't really matter. So all those things that aren't looked at as sexy, right? The dirty work stuff. That's what we're working on perfecting right now as we get to know some new terminology and some new things, the way the offense goes, and for that matter, some of the new things. What I love about Coach Fangio is Coach Fangio has continued to evolve his as a coordinator throughout his entire career, and the new things that he's doing. It's never the same year in, year out. So that's what we're working on right now.
Nick, none of your O-line and your starting O-line have ever had a different position coach than Stout. What have you seen from Chris Cooper as far as winning those guys over and kind of establishing himself?
Yeah, I don't think, again, it's not about the win over. It's about daily doing what your job is supposed to be, and that's the players doing that with Chris and to us as a coaching staff, and us as coaches doing that with them. You're constantly putting deposits in the bank by building trust by your knowledge, your conviction, daily work, and that's what we're working on right now. Is that and that's on both ends. These guys have to build trust with him, and he's got to build trust with them. It's not a one-way street, and that never is. And so that's what we're working on right now. But I love the way Chris comes to work. I've been with the offensive line for the last 5 years. I love how they come to work and with an attempt to get better every single day. And then the same thing on Chris's part. Great knowledge for the game, great ability to connect with players. Great knowledge of the scheme, of the different types of things that we're going to be doing. And then just great growth mindset to figure out things that he may have not done in the past. So that's what we're working on at this particular moment, and that's what's going on.
To follow up on Rube's question, how much of a learning process is it for like a lot of the offensive linemen, considering they've only had pretty much one way under Stalin before now?
Yeah, again, there's a learning process for what's important that regardless of carryover, regardless of everything, what's important that everyone needs to do at this time of year is start back at square one and build our habits again from square one. We do that with our fundamentals, we do that with our schemes, we do that with our core values, and so everybody is, and that's what we've tried to do throughout the 5 years. We don't, just because you've been together, the offense has been the same or the defense has been the same, that doesn't mean you just assume that everyone's at phase 4 of where they need to be. No, you start back at square one. You start back at the little minute details, because we all need reminded on that. Like, shoot, I'll be giving the similar messages all year because it's the relentless approach of the things that you believe in that you need to do on a daily basis, and so that's where we're at right now. Is everybody's starting at square one because that's kind of how we go about our off-season program.
What's square one? I mean, Markel Bell rookie coming in. What does he look like at this point? And I know you guys value the mentorship, the chance to be out there with guys like what does he look like?
Yeah, again, he's just going through the process. Again, we don't have pads on right yet. Obviously, a big part of the evaluation on offensive linemen, and for that matter, any position, it's football, right? You see how laser focused I was into that distraction? I mean, it happens all the time, right? So, you're staying. So, but this is about performing our fundamentals. There's something I've talked a lot to the guys about. There's some of the things that are happening right now is like invisible progress. Like you just have to keep going on little fundamental things, understanding that you might not see, the proof of it quite yet. And that's sure as heck a statement for an offensive lineman who really has to go with the physicality of things that has to happen when they play. But it's about those little things, the mental portion of it. I think he's really sharp mentally of being able to pick things up. It seems like he's learning something new every day and, handles the volume that has been thrown at him in a very positive manner. And so, and you like the ability that he has to move and his obvious freakish size when he's out there. So he's had good drills and done really well in drills, has done really well in the classroom, and we look for him to continue to develop in that. But nobody's a finished product right now, as you guys know. I know you guys know that. Like, nobody's a finished product, and we're very early on in the stages of this. We're going to make mistakes out there at practice today as players. We're going to make mistakes out there as practice as coaches. But the mindset has to constantly be is like, okay, made a mistake today. You should be hungry for that and understand how much you can improve on every mistake that you make. And for that matter, every positive thing that you do. And so this is a long process that we're being diligent about every single day to continue to get better. I know it's like, oh, that's coach speak. That's just really how we live and how we go about our business of just staying locked into the present.
Nick, what have you seen in the growing relationship between Sean and Jalen and your relationship with Sean as well?
Yeah, again, it's a process, all right? It's a process in that, like, trust is built through, hardships together. Trust is built as you go through this with time spent together. Trust is built through daily showing up and doing what you're supposed to do, right? And so it takes time. Like I said, what I admire about Jalen is just one of the things I admire about Jalen is his commitment to get better every single day and his commitment to the process. And when you do that, you build that trust with people. And Sean's here at all hours of the day. I'm not sure I've beat Sean in here yet this year, and I'm not sure I've left earlier than him, or I've always left earlier than him to this point. Like, he grinds and he does what he's supposed to do and works really hard at his craft. And so, like, you admire that, but that takes time, and that's built. And so that's what we're working on right now. Again, all this is a process. I think and I understand your guys' questions because like I haven't talked to you in a while. Let me ask some of these questions, and I guess my answer to most of them has been, well, it's a process. It's a process. It is. It's not. I'm not trying to give you guys just coach speak. It's just the way it is. But we talk about that trust a lot of how that's built, and those are really the hardships, the time that you spend, and consistently doing what you're supposed to do is what builds those things. So and those guys don't miss. Sean and Jalen. What I admire about them is they don't miss a day on that. So whatever day we're on right now, 50s, I don't think it's that high, but 30, whatever, that's how far along we are in the relationship, because I'm not sure that either of those guys have missed a day where they've, of doing what they're supposed to do because of who they are.
We got one left.
Has DeVonta's attendance been any different this spring than previous years?
I'd have to look there. We've had what I'm excited about of the attendance that we've had of the guys that have been here, and excited to work with the guys at this point of the season. And but I would have to go back, Jeff, and look at that. And but I know this about DeVonta. Every day he's here, he's working his butt off.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.